Since marketing began, measuring ROI has been something marketers have struggled to work out, and things have not changed that much actually. One of the greatest challenges faced by influencer marketing, or content marketing in general, is it can be hard to determine your return on investment. The good news is that with influencer marketing, there are more accepted ideas on how to measure the results of your campaigns. There's no specific ROI measure for every influencer campaign though. You may have to use a wide range of analytical measures over a set time period, but it will be worth the effort. Hopefully you began your campaign by setting goals, as we spoke about in Module 4. You need to measure how your campaign succeeded in meeting those goals. You have to measure and monitor relevant performance indicators that match each of these goals. For instance, if you'd set a goal to increase your Instagram following by a certain percentage over the period of your campaign, then you need to compare Instagram follower numbers before and after it, which is quite simple. If your goal had been to increase sales of a particular product by a certain percentage over your campaign period, you'd focus on the sales pattern for the product. You can make tracking easier by creating a dedicated sales page with the link to it being included in your influencer's message. Possible areas of measurement are very dependent on your goals. There's no point trying to calculate all statistics. Many will be irrelevant to your particular influencer marketing campaign. So audience reach will be important if your target is to position your content in front of as many people as possible. Reach has been a traditional measure for many types of marketing. In this situation, you'll be looking to work with influencers with huge followings to grow your reach. Unfortunately, in this situation, it's not overly easy to measure your return on investment. About the best you could calculate would be the total number of followers of the particular influencer who shared your content per dollar spent on the campaign. However, as there is no exact connection between followers and impressions of people who actually see your content, it's not a particularly meaningful stat after all. In most situations, impressions are a better measure of visibility for social media statuses or posts than audience reach, because the reality is only a small portion of an influencer's followers on most social media channels will get to see a post. Impressions are the number of times people view an influencer's post. This is an important statistic to calculate as it gives you information about the true reach of an influencer. It tells you how many people generally see the post, not just how many could potentially see it. The number of impressions generated by a post is a valuable statistic where you are comparing the reach of multiple influencers. You can compare the impressions on a particular post shared by an influencer to the number of impressions you normally receive on posts you make through your own social media channels. So that brings us on to the issue of impressions. It's all very well having people look at your marketing. It's another thing completely for them to actually take notice of it. Some social media participants have a huge audience or following, leading to a large number of impressions. However, it's doubtful if you can consider these people influencers if their followers don't interact with them in any way, shape or form. Traditionally, engagement was measured simply in terms of likes. However, this is a pretty broad measurement. People regularly like posts without taking much notice of it, especially on Instagram. I mean, think about your own behaviour. Don't tell me you've never hit like for no other reason than you liked the person, not the content, and you have no idea what the post was even about. We've all done it. Nowadays, there's a wider look at the total engagement of social media followers. You look at a mixture of shares, comments, and likes, probably weighted in that order. A like's fine, but in many ways it's pretty much a throwaway gesture. If we were to score this, comments are worth more, but they're essentially somebody simply wanting to give their view about something. Some comments, such as "nice post," lack much thought at all and are of little value. A share, on the other hand, is considerably more valuable. If somebody shares a post on social media, they're effectively saying that they believe the content is so valuable that all their friends should see it too. Shares are the pinnacle of engagement. They're top dog. One way you can use both engagement and impression statistics is to look at your audience's sentiment behind particular posts. Which posts attract the greatest attention? What topics do people like the most, comment on the most, and ultimately share the most? While you cannot easily determine numerical ROI simply on sentiment, it helps you decide upon the best types of content to use with influencers. That's of course if you want to end up with the best outcome, which of course you do. Whether you share in-house content with your influencers or they create original material about your brand, you need to ensure that it always gives value to your readers. Creating high quality content undoubtedly costs more than producing cheap and cheerful material. However, you are likely to end up with a higher ROI from a more expensive quality piece. Of course, high quality content is a somewhat intangible return, so the value of it is not easily measurable in dollar terms. In marketing, a conversion is when you manage to get somebody to respond to a call to action. So conversions are next. People often think of conversions as sales, but in reality, there are many more different types of conversions. So your conversions relate to the goal you set at the start of the marketing process. The more you move towards meeting the goal, the more conversions you have. If your goal was to drive an extra $3,000 sales per week, then every extra sale you generate is a conversion for you. On the other hand, if your goal was to add an extra 30 email addresses to your database each week, then you would consider adding an email address to your database to be a conversion. So there's many different ways to convert. To be able to determine an actual return on investment, you need to assign a monetary value to each additional conversion. Decide how much each extra item of conversion is worth to you. For example, what is the financial worth of that additional email address you've got? Some typical type conversion factors used by influencer marketers include growth in your followers, brand mentioning, traffic to a specific landing page or website, form completions, sign-ups to newsletters or subscriptions, growth in users of a product or service, and increased sales. In recent years, there's been an attempt to create a standard ROI measurement for influencer marketing. This is difficult because of the wide variety of campaign goals. Instead, probably the best measurement is influencer media value. This provides a better proxy for the returns on the post that an influencer has historically given the firms they've worked with. Provides an indication of what an equivalent advertising campaign would cost for the same effect. Influencer media value is an adaptation of an existing statistic, earned media value or EMV, making it relevant for influencer marketing. So influencer media value calculates the worth you receive from content shared by an influencer. Very importantly, this is one metric that clearly separates real influencers from online fraudsters. So an influencer with many genuine engaged followers will generate a better IMV than somebody with less of a proven record with their online posting. So IMV provides an excellent guide to how much an influencer is currently worth. The value of the influencer media value represents how much a brand would have to pay if they were to reach that influencer's following using paid advertising. It effectively tells brands a maximum price they should be prepared to pay a particular influencer. If the influencer charges more than their IMV, it will make more sense for a brand to engage in paid advertising than to work with him or her. The thing is, it can be pretty complicated to calculate the IMV of an influencer. Although we do have a tool to help with this for both Instagram and Twitter, and that's on the Influencer Marketing Hub. Also, you will find either the IMV or EMV for influencers shown on some platforms. Analytics is in fact one of the more common features offered by these platforms. Indeed, some of the influencer platforms we've reviewed focus solely on providing in-depth analytics to brands wanting to work with influencers. Although more of a general purpose influencer marketing platform, Upfluence makes a point of providing copious analytics and data about the influencers it has in its database. Also, it features performance tracking capabilities so you can see how your influencers have performed. As you've seen, there are many methods to determine ROI. However, the best method for you depends on your important goals that we've been talking all the way through this. So what are you hoping to achieve from influencer marketing? Once you've determined your goal, you should then be able to see if your marketing is best for you. Just remember, allow for time delays between your campaigns and when you start to see conversions. They don't necessarily all happen straight away. Be prepared to experiment. If one campaign fails to inspire interest, try a different campaign with a different influencer. Always be willing to adapt. Social media is a fast-moving phenomenon and you need to be ready to move with it. So we're almost at the end of the influencer marketing course now. The support document in this module will help you with your goal measurements. Next, we move on to using paid ads with influencers, the cherry on top of influencer marketing. So I'll see you in module 10.